Language-based reading and writing disorders intervention collaboration speech, language therapist and occupational therapist. Presented by Dr. J.G. Padin, speech-language pathologist and public health. Differentiated diagnostic to address reading and writing disorders. They are not the same and the intervention is different. Specific developmental disorders of scholastic skills. This is the umbrella code used for specific learning disabilities. There is also central auditory processing disorder, CAPD, and visual perceptual disorders that is associated with specific learning disabilities. While intellectual disabilities. Our individual has significantly below average intellectual functioning and limitations in adaptive behavior, originating before age 18, by definition of the disability have visual and auditory perceptual difficulties. Central auditory processing disorder, CAPD, when someone has difficulty interpreting auditory information, despite normal hearing sensitivity. Often identified in with poor listening, comprehension, or auditory memory. Visual perceptual disorders involve difficulties in the brain's ability to make sense of visual information. They are not due to problems with eyesight but rather with processing visual input. See some of them below. This is the general category for specific learning disabilities, which include difficulties in reading, writing, spelling, and math, not explained by intellectual disability or lack of instruction. Specific developmental disorders of scholastic skills. These disorders are not due to a lack of opportunity, intellectual disability, or sensory impairment. Such as the following. Dyslexia. Specific spelling disorder. Specific disorder of arithmetical skills, dyscalculia. Disorder of written expression. Other developmental disorders of scholastic skills. Developmental disorder of scholastic skills, unspecified. Important to mention that dyslexia may also be documented using our 48.0 for acquired dyslexia, but only if there is a known neurological cause, example, after stroke. These codes exclude intellectual disabilities, autism spectrum disorder, and attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, which may co-occur but are separate diagnoses. Always confirm with DSM-5 alignment and educational team reports when coding for IEP/educational services. Specific learning disabilities and intellectual disabilities (IND) differ mainly in cognitive ability and the nature of learning difficulties. SLD involves an average or above average IQ with specific reading, writing, or math difficulties. Despite normal intelligence and reasoning skills, the problem is isolated to some academic regions. While IND involves below average IQ, under 70, and global delays in learning, including reading and writing, along with challenges in daily living and adaptive functioning. In short, SLD has a normal IQ plus specific academic difficulty. IND has a low IQ plus broad academic and functional delays. However, this does not mean an IND cannot learn functional environmental reading skills related to basic sight words or community displayed signs, such as traffic or direction signs. We have 7 cognitive brain skills areas that help us learn. We all have learning strengths and weaknesses. People with learning disabilities have significant weaknesses in one or more brain skills, and as a result, they experience substantial challenges learning how to read, write, or use mathematics. Crystallized knowledge. What you know. How you use language to talk with others about what you know. How do you listen and understand when others are sharing their knowledge with you? Fluid reasoning. Your skills for solving problems. How do you discover patterns and find solutions? Mental processing speed. How quickly you perform mental tasks. Visual processing. How do you use your eyes for learning? How do you see and use visual patterns? Auditory processing. How do you use your ears for learning? Sound awareness skills, like rhyming, are essential for learning how to read. Short-term memory. How do you hold information in your memory while you think and learn? All thinking occurs in working memory. Long-term memory. How do you store and later remember what you have learned? Language-based reading and writing disorders, such as those related to dyslexia, written expression, and language development, the most relevant ICD-10 CM codes fall under both the F80, language disorders, and F81, scholastic skills disorders. There is a close relationship between speech-language therapy, SLP, and occupational therapy, OT. We often work together when supporting children with reading and writing disorders, especially those that are language-based. Speech-language therapy, SLP, and occupational therapy, OT. Shared goal, functional academic success. Both therapies address different yet interconnected components needed for compelling reading and writing. The certified speech-language pathologists focus on 1. Phonological awareness. 2. Receptive and expressive language. 3. Vocabulary and grammar. 4. Narrative skills. 5. Auditory perceptual skills, especially for CAPS. On the other hand, the registered occupational therapists focus on 1. Fine motor skills. 2. Visual motor integration. 3. Visual perception. 4. Postural control and motor planning. Intervention. Steps. Global reading methodology in speech-language therapy and occupational therapy. Early identification is crucial and very important, assessing cognitive skills with emphasis on visual and auditory processing skills, and developing a plan of care intervention with specific goals. Global reading methodology consists of 6 steps for implementation. It is an approach that teaches reading by recognizing whole words or phrases instead of focusing first on individual letters or sounds. It emphasizes understanding the meaning of words in context and using visual memory and comprehension skills to read fluently. This method is often used with beginners or children who struggle with phonics, helping them build reading confidence by connecting words directly to their meanings. 6 steps for implementation. Lucca's Tower or Tower of Hanoi. Rapid automatic naming, RAN. Randomized selection, grapheme and phoneme. Central auditory processing skills exercises. Visual perceptual skills exercises. Global reading high-frequency phoneme. Tower of Hanoi is a therapeutic game or structured activity designed to stimulate executive functions in children through playful and strategic construction tasks. Occupational therapists, neuropsychologists, and speech-language pathologists. Emphasizes working memory planning and organization, cognitive flexibility, attention and focus, problem solving. Rapid automatic naming, RAN, is a cognitive skill strongly linked to reading development, especially in early readers. It refers to how quickly and accurately a person can name familiar items, like letters, numbers, colors, or objects, aloud when shown in a rapid sequence. RAN is a predictor of reading fluency because it measures the speed of lexical access. Randomized selection, grapheme and phoneme identification exercise. In this auditory and visual activity, the participant listens to the name of a grapheme and is asked to identify or point to it. The same procedure is then repeated using the sound of the phoneme, phonetic level. All stimuli are presented in a randomized order to promote generalization and avoid memorization. The exercise is then reversed. The participant is prompted to name the grapheme and produce the corresponding phoneme, while the therapist identifies or confirms the response. As part of the therapy, each foundational skill must be intentionally practiced to support functional reading development. These include auditory discrimination, short-term memory, long-term memory, auditory closure, phonemic awareness, auditory synthesis, and auditory figure ground. Strengthening these skills helps individuals with disabilities improve their ability to process, retain, and understand spoken and written language, which is critical for success in daily life. Visual perceptual skills exercises. These include visual discrimination, visual memory, visual spatial relations, visual form constancy, visual sequencing, visual closure, and visual figure ground. At this stage, the occupational therapist plays a vital role by applying their expertise to stimulate these skills and provide compensatory strategies that help minimize the individual's existing visual perceptual difficulties through targeted intervention and collaborative support. Visual memory is remembering what you have seen, such as letters, words, and their patterns. It plays a critical role in reading development, especially for recognizing and recalling sight words, spelling patterns, and letter sequences. Visual figure ground is the ability to focus on a specific visual target, the figure, while ignoring the irrelevant background. Visual form constancy is the ability to recognize a shape, symbol, letter, or word even when it changes in size, position, font, or context. Visual closure is the ability to recognize a complete object, shape, letter, or word when only part of it is visible or when it is incomplete. Visual discrimination is the ability to see and recognize differences and similarities between visual stimuli such as shapes, letters, numbers, or words. Visual motor coordination is the ability to coordinate visual input with motor output, in other words, how well the eyes and hands work together to perform tasks. Visual motor integration, VMI, is the ability to combine visual perception with motor control to reproduce or respond to visual stimuli accurately, essentially, how well a person can interpret what they see and physically act on it, especially with their hands. Global reading implementation steps. 1. Select the high-frequency phoneme, for example letter B. 2. List of words with letter B. 3. Read the list of words with letter B by repeating. 4. Apply RAN to the list of words with letter B. 5. Read the list of words with letter B a second time. 6. Read the story with the words letter B in chorus. 7. Read the story with letter B independently or with help. 8. Read independently. 9. Answer the comprehension questions, no more than 5. Reading will be practiced for each phoneme. This is an example using the letter B. Notice that it is redundant, relevant and motivating. It will give you a sense of success. Listen to the story, and finally answer the questions. Title: The Big Blue Boots. Ben and Betty bought big blue boots. Ben and Betty ran, bumping into each other. Running Ben lost one of the big blue boots. Betty also lost a big blue boot. Ben and Betty were sad. Then Ben looked far away and saw the boots. He ran to get them. Both Ben and Betty were happy again with their big blue boots. Reading will be practiced for each phoneme. Reading comprehension, answering simple questions about the story. Tell me the names of the children. What did the children buy? What happened to both children? Did they find what they were looking for? What did Ben do? How did the children feel at the end of the story? The integration of all these steps is systematically represented in each therapy session to transfer skills from short-term to long-term memory. Through intentional repetition and meaningful engagement, information becomes sufficiently redundant and relevant for the nervous system to retain and apply it, whether adequately, functionally, or with compensatory strategies. Functional reading is crucial for individuals with disabilities, enabling them to navigate daily life, make informed decisions, and participate independently within their communities. For more information, contact Dr. J.G. Padin at padinagabriel@gmail.com.